What is going on, people? We are back with episode number 4 with Antonio Coletti. Proper pronunciation? Yes,
Got
you
it.
find him at on Instagram at the Boxing Doc, working at over at ProMet PT. I'm Luis Santiago, aka Kinetic Remedy. We are providing our aunts, uncles, mom, dads, and the weekend warriors with insight into learning how to deal with their body. Uh, the first 2 episodes we dealt with foam rolling, trigger pointing, breathing, and introduction into what we'll be talking about. Today's episode, we'll be talking about programming, different types of programming. You got cardiovascular programming, muscle strength building programming, flexibility programming, and today Antonio will break that all down for us. So, good morning, Antonio. Talk to me about some programming and what your mind is on that. If you were talking to a layman.
Yes, absolutely. So, well, first of all, you got to think about before you come out with, you that you want to program, and being that you want to program is already a good sign because that shows that you are going to measure something. You're going to write some stuff down. You're going to, come up with a plan. So already you're off to a good start because you're going to measure something and you're preparing for something. So already great. So programming, you're already headed on the right track. Now, the next step is what do you want to program for, right? Are you programming for a marathon? Are you programming for, a beach body by summer? Are you programming for a fight in the upcoming months, right? It depends what you're programming for. So once you kind of, figure out what you're programming for, now we can do what's called a needs analysis, which means um, if we want to get if we want to get that beach bod, or you want to get into a certain specific, you want to hit a certain goal, the needs analysis comes into play where you now focus on the certain areas that you got to focus on to succeed throughout that goal. Now, for someone who wants to improve for summer and just get a beach bod, maybe it's um, you know circumferences around the waist, around the thigh, around the arms, around the upper arm,
Mm-hmm.
and getting that baseline first and moving towards, maybe trimming that down by 2 3 inches, or whatever it is. um, and then looking at areas that you want to improve, and that's also in the needs analysis, meaning that now say you want to improve your core strength, or you want to just have a flatter belly, right? Well, to do that, we would say, okay, let's do a 30-second plank. And I'll say that 30-second plank on a scale of 0 to 10 is like, the hardest thing. It's like a 9 out of 10. It's really hard for you to just hold a 30-second plank. Well, I would say that in that in that analysis, that is something that we'd have to incorporate into your routine on a consistent basis. So the needs analysis is just something that now gets a little more specific into the certain areas that are going to help you achieve that goal. Um, for boxing, right? It might be, single leg strength, single leg explosive jumping, right? Say we put you and you're doing a single leg jump to a box, and maybe you do 5 in a row, but you're very fatigued. You don't have the endurance to do so, and your coordination isn't just there. Well, now that goes back into the analysis to say, okay, well, you're performing a sport that is mainly done on one leg, you're bouncing between legs, and you're having difficulty performing a single leg hop. That's boom. Now that goes right into our specific programming to hit a specific goal, which is your fight in 3 months from now. So it's looking at your goal, getting that done first, and then the needs to hit that goal, which is just like the specific areas that you want to train to make sure that you get that as a success.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you find trouble in that? I feel like oftentimes some people have their minds already made up. Like you said, summer body. Winter is about to leave. Everybody wants their summer body, so they're geared towards that. But they oftentimes people don't see that they have to incorporate other aspects in order for them to get to that end result. That you may not be focusing on what you initially think you need to be focusing on. And so, I, like you said, holding my plank, maybe my shoulders are weak, I need to do some back exercises and shoulder strengthening things. You're like, what does this have to do with getting my six pack up? But Do you have a difficult time in explaining to people that you have to work on this in order to get that end result? How do you manage that?
Yeah, so I think that that brings up a good point because just you want to build up your leg strength, you want to build up your shoulder strength. Okay, we understand that. So why are we focusing so much on breathing and core? Right? I get that all the time. And I get that why are we working so much on core to help my shoulder out, or why are we working on my core to help with my my lower extremity, my knees, my hips, and stuff like that. And so what we say is, well, you know, we need our body to work as a team, right? We need multiple areas of our body to work together. We can't just have our shoulder do all the work and this is just a shoulder workout, I'm just doing shoulders. No, we need to have stability in our core first, right? So core is number one, to
Hmm.
help assist the movement of my shoulder. So now we got a team, we got a relationship going on, right? This isn't just exercises. This is learning the relationships between body parts to then maximize your health and maximize longevity. We all want to be doing this for a very long time. So I don't want to just overwork my shoulder, 100% here, 0% here. I need like a 50-50 relationship between my core and my shoulder so that, when I'm doing a shoulder press, I'm in good, I have good engagement of my core. I'm in good alignment. I'm mostly neutral. I'm not just hanging out in back extension and just, cranking out, hyperextension on my back while I'm doing a shoulder press. So, I think it starts when we explain to people that, we have to rethink exercise, right? Certain days we want it to do back, right? It's like back or chest is Monday, Tuesday is legs, Wednesday's back, and then, we'll do core at the end of the exercise. Well, we have to reframe that thinking. We can't just have core at the end of the exercise. Core is performed throughout. It's almost done with every single exercise. Core has to be the number one area that you're feeling. If you don't, you're just compromising another area. You're just compromising, your back health for just trying to rep out, your personal record on a bench press. I understand, that's something that might be done for a competition. That's something that you might need for sport. Beautiful, you could do that if that's your goal. If you're an Olympic lifter and you need to arch your back and just get that one rep out. But we're here for longevity. If you want to continue for a longer period of time on doing that, we're going to have to balance out core and whatever muscle part you're working. So I think just hitting that early and often with clients, just letting them know that, you know, we have to kind of rethink, the way we are working our bodies, and not just, dedicating one day for one body part. Of course you can do that, but when you're doing that, just incorporate that, you're not just working your back. You're at the same time, you're keeping the core tight. You're making sure you're in neutral alignment so that now we're getting both to work. So it's always feeling first. So it's what it's called is called sensory competency, which just
Hmm.
means, are you feeling it in the right areas? Do you have sensory competency, which means, when I curl my arm, do I feel my bicep working, or am I just thinking about what I'm eating for dinner later tonight, right? Like that's not, you should be in the zone. It should be taken serious. Like when you're working out and you're playing with your body, or you're really manipulating a lot of different variables. You're manipulating the way you feel.
Hmm.
You're really at the micro level, you're causing muscle damage, right? So this isn't just something that you want to lackadaisically just go through. You want to have a mental preparation, mental focus on what you're doing. And when your sensory competency is saying, okay, I feel my core, a number one there, and now I'm doing my work with my arms or with my legs, now you're kind of building a better relationship for longevity, and it's gonna improve. And then if you want to work on core, right, because that's your beach bod and you want to do it, of course, now we throw in a 3-4 extra exercise that isolate the core, and now we're
Hmm.
getting it, and now we're trying to get a little more there. But the idea is core's always been involved with everything else.
I think you just hit everything on the head. For the main reason why I even wanted to start these conversations is because we need to get people to understand it goes way beyond just sitting there going on autopilot doing these simple movements and getting some end result without understanding that it's a full picture. You have to incorporate all these aspects to truly become healthy. And then the sensory, what did you call it again? What is it?
sensory competency.
sensory competency, just having the self-awareness and, you know,
Exactly.
proprioception, right? All of that good
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah, you want to learn to connect to your body,
Yeah.
and even mentally, physically, putting that all together, it's a real health practice. And I think
Yeah.
it's super duper key. Now, that's for muscle development. Are you also programming a stretch programming, a flexibility program for certain clients and in certain ways?
Yeah. So I think with now having the full spectrum of a program, you want to make sure that you are incorporating areas that need further development. So say, and it goes with what the client is mainly doing. So if the client is mainly doing like you're kind of just your simple your back strengthening, chest strengthening, sort of just all those areas that you're trying to hit that are just common for most areas that you want to gain strength in or whatever. um if I feel like we're doing a lot of like, posture stuff where it's like a lot of straight back, which, when you're doing exercise, of course you want to keep good posture and keep a good straight back. But, then I want to incorporate things where we're rounding, where we're reaching and rounding and going into the opposite realms. So
Hmm.
that's when my mobility and stretching and sort of other areas come into play. So it's one area. So now we did the programming with our strengthening, right? We figured out which areas we want to target, which areas need a little more attention, which areas are going to get us to our goal. Beautiful.
Hmm.
Now the mobility and warm up and cool down routines are complementing this. So if we're doing a lot of leg extensions, a lot of squats, a lot of hip hinge patterns, deadlift, stuff like that, my mobility routine might be some static wall sits, maybe something that I'm not doing here, right? So maybe it's me sitting on the floor and doing like a little mobility flow, moving my hips in more rotational movements, because my program, right, it doesn't incorporate maybe too much hip internal rotation or hip external rotation, or it doesn't incorporate any shoulder external rotation or any shoulder internal rotation. So my mobility program will incorporate that. Will incorporate just maybe me on the floor, laying down and just going into nice IR with some core engagement, breathing, actively stretching. If I want to passively do it, I could help myself out, right? But the idea is we are hitting the things that we aren't hitting when we are strengthening. Um, so, I think before we work out, I think, I have maybe a series of 4 or 5 dynamic kind of movements that we'll do, maybe a hip mobility flow where we go through a couple hip drills, maybe a couple activation drills, and then right into the strength training. And then at the end, we'll do a cool down. Maybe it's a breathing against the wall. Maybe it's a reaching and rounding drill where you're just trying to just cool down, feel core, stretch out the back, and just get out of this posture. Um, so I think that would couple at the end very well. And then after that, it's really just, what are you doing? How are you monitoring this now, right? Like we talked about, you already want a program, so you're on the right step. But now, did you write down, what you did that day? Did you write down how you felt after your workout? You know,
Yes, sir.
are you communicating it with are they communicating it with you or me about, I slept very well last night, this is what I ate today, and my workout, I felt really good. Boom, check mark, right? Like that is something that you want to continue to communicate that with one of us, or in your log, in your exercise journal. I give people an Excel sheet that they can kind of, fill in the blanks type of thing, where every day
Nice.
they, you just keep track of it. And I think, if you're keeping track of those things, and it goes a long way. So it's something you monitor, and you can't, you're never gonna grow if you don't measure it, right? So you gotta measure what you want to change. So I think that's
Yeah.
something to do.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny that you talked about the food and things and what you eat. How did you sleep? How did you feel? I'm questioning all my people with this every day, and they're like, "Why? Why are you asking me all these questions?" I'm like, "Cause I'm writing this down, and then I'm keeping a log of everything that's happening long term, so I can see 6 months down the road, like, okay, this is what we've been doing, but we didn't
Yeah,
do really any of this, so you can really adjust to it." And that's one thing that I think it's easy to sort of get someone's mind and attention and excitement early on. It's hard for them to get it long term. Like if you're with someone over a span of time, you kind of like you're working longer range on much more things. And so I think that's where for you and I as an athlete on ourselves, we understand what we're doing day to day for
yeah,
the long term end result, where sometimes people don't really get that. So I think it's amazing that you can
yeah,
touch on that and let people understand like this is a
100%.
long term process. This isn't like every day works towards the ultimate end goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And what I want people to know is that, we make programs for people. Listen, like it's tough for someone who's not in healthcare or who's not in the fitness world to sit down and make a program. You're busy with work, you got at school, it's just something you don't do. But you might be listening to this and saying, okay, like this programming stuff sounds really important. It's going to measure my stuff. It's going to track where I'm going. This is very overlooked, very overlooked. Unfortunately, I didn't start programming until maybe I would say when I learned this in school, and I was like, wow, okay, so this is kind of important. And throughout high school, I was working out, and college sports, I was working out, and then I finally learned a little more in school, and I was like, okay, this is some important stuff. So for everyone listening, this is something that we do for people. We program for people based on your goals, based on what you want. So
Yes, sir.
it could be overwhelming because do I do a 12-week? Do I do a 16-week? What do I really want? But it's super important that you consult with one of us so that we can help guide you and lead you towards success. So you can complete it, you feel better, and it helps you track your year. So you're not just aimlessly just walking around the gym thinking, okay, I'll do this today. Like, it's you track it, you stay on top of it, and you're going to see the results.
So now let's say I'm a new client. I'm coming in. Let's say I'm a 45-year-old mom and haven't really exercised too much. Maybe I had an injury when I was 16 or something like that that I haven't really attended to, but now it's sort of accumulated. I'm stiff, my back, maybe my hip hurts. Many possibilities where you can go to. But will there are there length of time programs that you'll sort of immediately give to the person, or do you sort of adjust it according to the individual and their needs? How is it that you would adjust a 45-year-old mom who doesn't exercise, who wants to get their body in shape and also address past injuries?
Yeah. So someone who hasn't really, so the example is for someone who hasn't really worked out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
say, so usually for the person who's not familiar with working out, just wants to get started with this, maybe has had a past history of some injuries and stuff like that. I'd say I'd start them with an 8 to 12 week program, anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks, because it takes 6 to 8 weeks to get some strength into the body. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to get to the basic baseline, to start seeing some strength gains, and then beyond 12 weeks to get some hypertrophy, which means some more muscle size, or not size, but more muscle growth throughout the body. But the first 6 to 8 weeks is where you start to gain strength, just neuromuscularly getting strength. And it could be through several reasons, just practicing your movement. You've been doing this for several weeks, and you just understanding the basic things, and now you're practicing more, so you just gain natural neuromuscular strength. So that 6 to 8 weeks is important. I'll give them that for the main amount of time. And then now when we do those first 6 to 8 week, or really I say 8 to 12 weeks, because you really want to get to that 8 week marker. That 8 week marker for most individuals is when they start feeling that they're getting stronger, and that
Mm-hmm.
they're building this as a habit, which is important. And then beyond that, yeah, that's more of like that's extending. But when you're a first timer and you're just trying out 8 weeks, 8 weeks on a nice program just to get them started, I think that's key. And then following that, I would, have a week of maybe a deload, maybe a week of just kind of like a little mobility stuff, maybe just same exercises, just a lower weight, maybe a higher rep count.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that week, boom, now we can go back and maybe go into a 12-weeker. And then it might be almost the same stuff really, because they're just starting off. So I wouldn't really change too much, just kind of keep it simple and do another 12 weeks. And now, now we keep extending what we were just doing there. After the 12 weeks, another week of a deload, lower the weights, increase the reps or whatever, more mobility, more stretching, maybe some recovery work.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that week, now we ramp it into a different type of program based on what you wanted to do, based on your goals. And then we might change up your whole routine,
Yes,
or
sir.
your exercise selection might be completely different in that
Now,
next program.
one addition into that, if let's say again, same person, same individual, 8 to 12 week beginning program, how many days a week would you recommend that they would start off with exercising?
So the World Health Organization and the Controlled Center of Disease, obviously we've been hearing a lot of the WHO and the CDC this year, right?
5 to 6
They
days.
throw out activity guidelines. I mean, they throw this out, and I actually just did a blog on this. I'll send it to you. Just a nice fact sheet of like what they require, what they have seen from their research on what they would like people to do in terms of physical activity. So they recommend at least 2 days a week of strength training, which is something new that they've seen some benefit from. So 2 days a week of strength training and a cumulative of 150 to 300 minutes of moderate aerobic cardiovascular activity,
Mm-hmm.
which could kind of correlate to maybe 2-3 days, right? Because if you do, what's 150 minutes, right? That's about 2 hours, maybe, if you go
Yeah,
200 minutes, that'd
two
be
and a
like
half hours.
2.5 hours, right? You split that up between 2-3 days. So,
Mm-hmm.
say you got 2-3 days of the
Strength training.
conditioning and 2 days of the strength training, right? So now I would say a 4 out of 7 days is probably really good. 4 days
Mm.
is probably enough
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Yeah. If yeah, I thought, but those numbers they don't sound, but I thought like they even recommended 5 to 6 days of just like light, moderate activity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want you to it's always encouraged to go above the recommended amount. That's the other thing. But yeah, I think because that you can spread it out 30 minutes, for like at least 5 days a week. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be an hour every, 4 times. You could just do 30 minutes, every day, and that'll last you, the whole week. And you're it helps just kind of get more days in and be more active throughout your week. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you could spread it out to 5 days too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anywhere between 4 to 5 days, with like, 1 or 2 days of rest is probably good enough in the beginning.
Man, I think so that was absolutely beautiful. This conversation was perfect, man. Because it makes me think about just like maybe going too deeply into it, but like human evolution, where we've evolved from. People have always been working, people have always been moving, people have been active, and now we
Yeah.
live everything sort of, especially now during these quarantine corona times, people are sitting still, they're not doing as much, and more aches and pains and more sicknesses and ailments. But it's just very simple: getting up, getting outside, moving around, stretching your body, building some strength. It keeps all the blood flowing. Plus, like you were saying, neuromuscularly, it's beneficial. You're creating a mind body connections. You're activating your entire kinetic chain and
Yeah.
keeping yourself really really healthy, keeping the heart pumping blood through everything from head to toes. And it's aside from taking pills and medications and things, this is one of the primary ways that we could really, really take care of ourselves is just by being active. It's not this classical meathead thing like, oh, I lift weights. No, it's like about being healthy. It's about really being healthy, taking care of your mind, taking care of your body. And I think you really hit that
Yeah.
on the head today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's number one. And just to close it is, I think the language we use is so important. I mean, we see this all the time in healthcare where someone says, "Oh my God, like you have a back of an 80-year-old." Like, you can't use that language, and so we have to encourage, the right communication, understand that there's a lot of psychology to this. And, you know, I mean, people are here to move, and people are here to learn and try to better themselves. You know, so, you know, when you're talking to people, and even if you're not in the health field, you know, let's use positive language. You know, let's not use such kind of, you know, this deteriorating kind of these words that just kind of make you feel kind of like crap, where it's like, wow, I got degenerative joint disease. And it's like,
Mm.
well, that's just a normal part of aging. You know, I mean, we have changes throughout our body as we get older. Those are normal things that happen. It's not that, you know, now you got to be scared to lift the weight over your head. It's just, if you do it gradually, and you do it under the right supervision, and it should be, everything should be fine with those things. It's not that you have some, you know, limiting factor that is, you know, making you feel like you're, you know, 100 years old because you can't move anymore. Like, so it's just important. And it's you know, hits me a little different because, you know, I kind of, I have patients who have had this said to them, you know, and it's just, and it's just not necessary, and it's detrimental to their future. You know, if someone, if I didn't know, if I wasn't you know, if I'm not a strong person, and I'm like feeling pretty down, and I've been dealing with this pain for a while, and then I see a clinician who tells me that, you know, I have a back of an 8-year-old, you know, I mean, that I might never work out again. And then what does that do to my health down the road? So I think, you know, just everyone listening to this, just, you know, be resilient, talk to one of us, and, you know, make sure that you're seeking out the right people for your health.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyone that today was a great conversation, great talk. I hope it was helpful and insightful. And if you have any questions, please hit us up at the Boxing Doc, at ProMed PT, at Kinetic Remedy, all on Instagram. I believe there's YouTube pages as well. Listen in on Spotify, on iTunes, and send us your questions. Listen in and help us to see how we can help you. And I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys enjoy. So everyone have a great day. Be safe.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Later.